Mr. President, you've said that you are not shocked at the GDP figures, and I think that everyone did expect that there will be a contraction. But it looks like there's a perception that says that the shock actually for most people comes from the extent of that contraction. And there seems to be a perception that government may have been a bit excessive in implementing some of those restrictions. Do you believe, Mr. President, with a little bit of hindsight, that perhaps as government, we could have done things differently in terms of some of the restrictions that were imposed around this time?
We entered the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic, on a weak wicket. Our economy was already severely negatively affected. We had been downgraded by the rating agencies. Our growth levels were already pointing to negative. Actually, we were already getting into a recession. And the pandemic just dealt a double, maybe a triple blow to us. So we were already in a weak state. And many countries around the world did what we did. We did go on a hard lockdown, but so did others. And those that didn't actually experienced much bigger infections. And the good example we often cite is the UK. The infection rate more or less started at the same time for both countries. We had a lockdown, which, yes, was hard. They had a lighter one, and their infection rate just started going much higher. And the problem with that is that they experienced more deaths than we did. Now, with our lockdown, we would like to believe that we did save lives, many lives, in fact. Had we not embarked on the lockdown as we did, I think many more people would have died. And if one does not believe that, one needs to think about the fact that we needed to ready our own health systems that we prepared properly for, were able to come into their own to the point where we had the higher level of recoveries. And that was due to the health systems that we prepared well for during the lockdown period. And for it to be effective, it had to be a total lockdown, which many of our people appreciated. And of course, the longer it took, the more people started having different views. And as it succeeded to lower the infection rate, people felt that, oh no, we actually did not need it. And yet little did they know that it was due to the lockdown that we were able to save so many lives.
Mr. President, I just want to push you further on the comments that you made earlier, saying that the labor laws are what constrains you, and that's why people are suspended and then still getting salaries. But with all due respect, Mr. President, people like MP Bongani Bongo are political appointments. They didn't submit their CVs. Why are we using the labor laws as an excuse? Surely, as a party and as a governing party, you want those that represent best the values of the party to be representing you in parliament. Why are we using labor laws as an excuse for political appointments?
In a way, Mahlatsi, I welcome your question, and I'm rather grateful for it, because what you're seeking to do is to say that there needs to be a differentiation between employed people who have to be, when they are suspended, there are labor laws that kick in. And there are people who, because they are not employed when they are suspended, there are certain considerations that are different. Very, very, very good sort of analysis there. And it is something, Mahlatsi, that obviously we have to pay attention to. Ordinarily speaking, if I for instance, were to be suspended from my position, I would know that there shouldn't be possibly any pay because I am appointed. I'm elected. And so that distinction needs to be looked at. And it's possible we haven't paid attention to it. And we need to pay closer attention to those nuances, the intricate aspects of it. And we will.
Can I ask you, please, about the race issue that we've been having? What are you personally doing about what has seemed to be an increasing problem in this country? What are you doing? What causes this, and what as head of state are you doing to ensure that we live up to our dream of a non-racial society?
Armed with the strategic objectives of my party and what we set out in our constitution, I believe one is well armed to be able to deal with racism in every respect. So how do we do that? Oppose racism wherever it occurs. Yes, even speak out against racism and act against racism. And that is why we've supported the Black Lives Matter campaign, because the Black Lives Matter is about denying racism. It's about acting against racism. It's about affirming that non-racial character of our country. And that is what I believe is important.
Mr. President, you mentioned that you are going to address the country next week. Is there a move to level 1 on the cards? Is it something that the Command Council is discussing in light of the GDP figures that were announced?
As the National Coronavirus Command Council, we are having to evaluate a number of proposals that have been put to us by a number of sectors of society. Religious leaders have come to us and have asked that we should consider extending the number of people who should be in worship. It should no longer be based on 50 people only in a room. It should be based on 50% of the room. The sports people have also come. The entertainers have also come. The hoteliers and tourism people. So we are considering all that as we do an evaluation of where the infection rate is. So we will be able to give consideration to all these proposals and get advice. This is where we will need advice from the Medical Advisory Committee, as well as from our NetJoints, which is the real engine of monitoring our coronavirus approach. So we will be giving consideration to all that, and watch this space next week where we end up as a nation in as far as this is concerned.